I'll make it up, I'll make it, I'll make it up, I'll make it up to you.
It's Friday, May 31st, 2024, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're watching Co-op for Two. Today we're playing a game from Be the Detective. We have a little bit of history with this game series, which we'll talk about in a minute, but let me just check in with the chat, make sure everything's okay. We've got, YouTube says 17 concurrent viewers, 6 likes. I appreciate that. Shall we do a little bit of bookkeeping here before we get started? You're still waiting for my review of 7th Citadel, which I've been making slides for. I really do need to record it, but it's going to take me a full day to do it. So I've been putting it off. But we do have a busy weekend here because today we're going to be playing the first episode of this game, and it is broken into 3 parts. Now, whether it takes us 3 days to play through these 3 parts, I'm not sure. However, the Be the Detective, this company, which as I remember it is just a husband and wife, has 2 full games available. This is an indie developer. You buy these games only through their website. It comes in a plain white box here. The first case they made was called The Duel, D-U-A-L. And it took us about 17 hours to play it over 3 sessions. So if that holds up here, we do need to find a schedule to play our 3rd session. I've budgeted tonight and Saturday night, but the group is going to have to decide here, those of you who stick with me for the whole thing, when is a good time to play the 3rd and final episode, assuming it takes us 3 episodes. And then I did also record a rather long review of The Duel, about 30 minutes. We were quite fond of it. We liked it quite a bit. And we had quite a bit of interesting discussion here, and a bunch of the people who joined me for that, which was almost exactly 1 year ago, are here today. That says something about you guys. Perhaps it says something good about this channel as well. So it wouldn't be surprising if it took us 3 sessions. I do know that it is broken up into 3 parts like The Duel was. They also have another game that's in the middle of development called Alone, which has a setting that I'm sort of interested in. This one, which is called Welcome to Adventure Park, is theme park cold case setting. And I do hope they finish the 3rd one in their series. This game is, right now, it costs $85. I think that's what it was when we purchased the first version a year ago. That's a little on the high side, even if you looked at, if you were to get 3 games out of it, something like Cryptic Killer Games, that might cost you $75. So it's in the same ballpark. But again, this is an indie developer, and a long game is different than 3 shorter games. That was sort of the gist of my review. So this is quite special. There are not that many long cold case games. Now, what else did we talk? What else do we need to remember from The Duel about this game here? I was going to say something about the price. Oh, I was going to do my normal reminder that we play all the games. We buy all the games on this channel that we play ourselves. I do, and with the help of those of you who have joined the Patreon. And that is the case with this game. So we have no relationship with the publisher. If we don't like it, we will feel free to say so and try to offer some constructive criticism. Okay, D says, loved The Duel. So D, did you purchase it on your own and play it, or did you watch us play it? And who in the channel was here with me almost exactly a year ago when we played through The Duel? I know Jonathan Warner was. D says she watched The Duel. A little reminder, I'll make sure to say this at the end as well. You can only play through this game once. You can only experience it once. I do think that if you have the money and the group to play it with, these games are always better to play on your own rather than playing along with me here. But if you don't have a group to play these with, I'm happy to have you here. We can work on these together. But let's remember that if you were a company making this game, you might be a little concerned. This is not like watching a playthrough of a dungeon crawler where if everyone enjoys the playthrough, they might want to get the game and play it themselves. If you watch this, you could buy it as a gift, but you're unlikely, you're not going to be able to play it yourself. So you could see why a company might be a little uneasy about that. And the way we make up for that is if we play a game that you like, I really do encourage you to go leave a review on their website, on Amazon, if there's a game that can be sold on Amazon or on Board Game Geek. Find a way to pay for the experience of playing the game, to pay it back to the company by leaving a good review, especially for these small independent developers. It's word of mouth is their only hope of getting people to purchase games. So if you have friends who like games, if you have a group, a Facebook group, or on their website, leave them a review if you like the game. Okay, Marco says for the third session, Sunday afternoon is better. Well, we'll just keep that in mind. Give me some feedback. Either let me know on the Discord or the Board Game Geek Guild for this channel, for the Co-op for Two channel, what days would be best for the third session. We could try to fit it in after our game of Dear Homes. Okay, other stuff to do. I did rewatch a movie. There's certain movies that one of the benefits of getting older is rewatching the good movies, because they're all bad now. All the movies are bad. But there were some great movies. And I just rewatched a movie that I've watched quite a few times before, and it really holds up. It's really good. And that is a movie called Presumed Innocent, 1990 movie. Who knows? Who has seen Presumed Innocent? It's a very good, very well acted, well written movie based on a famous book. And it's just very well done. If you haven't watched Presumed Innocent recently, you need to see it. It's a legal thriller. It's good. Let me know. Okay. Shall we open up the box and get into this? Okay, welcome to Adventure Park. So the format here is very similar to the Duel. 3 envelopes, pretty hefty actually, pretty large envelopes. Episode 1 feels the biggest, episode 2 and episode 3 a little bit smaller. All right. So I've had this for quite a while. I think as soon as we finished playing the Duel, I ordered this almost a year ago. Or it wasn't quite ready then, but soon after. So welcome to Adventure Park. This set in a theme park. For those of you who live on the East Coast, there's a very famous theme park called Action Park. And in fact, there's a very good documentary about Action Park and how the nickname was Class Action Park because so many people got injured at Action Park. It was really a Wild West of theme parks. But there's another movie for you to check out. All right, so no introductory letter. It's presumably all in this envelope for case 1. Marco says, I saw Presumed Innocent. Very good twist. Melissa says that one was crazy. All right, let us walk through this piece by piece. Welcome to Be the Detective. Start here. Be the Detective is a mystery game that is solved through good old-fashioned detective work, observation to detail, and puzzle-solving skills. There are a few tips to get you started. Read through the evidence carefully. The clues you need to crack the case are hidden in the details. Don't be afraid to check websites for additional information. That's the thing that I forgot. I forgot if this used outside websites, but it sounds like it does. Evidence gathered from them may be important to the story. Organize the information in a way that makes sense to you. It may be helpful to take notes, construct a timeline, use a pinboard to show how everything connects. There's no wrong way to solve the mystery. Keep everything in a safe pace. You may need to revisit some of the pieces in a later episode in order to solve the mystery. Make sure nothing is missing. So it's got a list of parts, but we normally don't look at that unless we need it. All right, so it may need the website. We've got that available if we need it. Notes, of course, we'll be taking notes. Now, one of the things we liked about The Duel is it was a proper cold case game, not a puzzle game. So these aren't going to be arbitrary abstract puzzles thinly strung together with narrative. If this is anything like The Duel, this is going to be a proper cold case with a little bit of story behind it. Okay. Anna says, I think they made a TV series as well from Presumed Innocent. They did make a TV series of it long after 1990, but I never saw it. I don't know the details. I am curious. I didn't know Jake Gyllenhaal was in it. All right, let's get serious about our game here. Greetings, detectives. Reputation is a fragile thing. Benjamin Franklin once said, it takes many good deeds to build a good reputation and only one bad one to lose it. Old Benny had a point, but I've seen a thing or two myself to know it doesn't always take a bad choice. Sometimes a bit of bad luck and twittering crowd is all it takes to burn a good girl without a trial. That's why I received a call from Candace, the owner of a water park in the Golden State. Her father started building the park in Southern California in the late 70s. She finally convinced him to retire a few years ago. Candace admitted that the park has had its share of problems, but was determined to give it a fresh start, beginning with the addition of a state-of-the-art ride. They tore down the old to make way for the new. That's when human remains were discovered. The family has deep roots in the community and was somehow able to pull a few strings to have the record sealed from public scrutiny. Candace is asking that we clear her family name from any wrongdoing. I have to admit, it's going to take some digging. This skeleton has been there a long time. I told her it's not likely we can find all the answers she's looking for, but stranger things have happened, so we'll give it a try. First things first, if we're going to figure out how this happened, we need to discover who those remains belong to. I've done a query on all of the missing persons within 100 miles of the park the month the ride was built. There's a good chance one of them is our missing person. Then, Candace has sent over some evidence she thinks will exonerate her father. Check it out and see if you can shoot any holes through her claim. Once you think you've solved these objectives, contact me at this website. To log in, enter your last name, use the password Lycan. Check the Welcome to Adventure Park Episode 1 case file in the dashboard. You can gain access with the password. I have posted some clues there in case you need a little help. While you're there, send me a quick chat and tell me how you solved the objectives. I do remember when we played The Duel, we had lots of discussions about the psychology of people. And we didn't love that the end questions were so brief and didn't touch on some of the things that we thought we had figured out. So we'll be taking seriously the end questions and trying to come up with a complete explanation for all this. So I don't know if it's talking about these are the things over the 3 episodes or this is just all episode 1. All right. So I don't know if we should do these in order. Let's take a look. We've got what looks like a file from Adventure Park Employee Handbook. Let's just take a quick look at what we've got. Forensics, newspaper clippings, missing persons database. We've got some forensics. It looks like they gathered from the scene. some photographs, some old cards and letters, maybe a cipher. Then a document here, which looks like it's an airplane manifest. Okay, so that's our complete set of documents. And now, for lack of any other basis, we'll just go through this in order. So it looks like we've got a map of Adventure Park. Little brochure you would have gotten when you came in the park. A map and some coupons. It looks like Mini Golf's All-Star Sale. Car wash. Auto sale. We'll go through these in more detail as we think we need them. Steakhouse. Savings and loan coupon. Okay, now I don't know if this is a map of the current park or the park as it was when they think this body may have been buried. But let's take a look at it. Okay, what have we got? Tornado Peak, Wipeout Alley, Calypso Creek, a Wave Park, Wave Pool, Nurses Station, Lost and Found, Changing Room, Locker Towers, Thunder Bay with a little monorail type thing, Bronzing Zone where people could get a tan. What does this say? It's a little hard to read. I need my glasses. Souvenirs and Ticket Center. Okay. Then the parking lot is broken into the Jellyfish lot and the Otter lot. Got a gift shop. We've got a sandwich sub shop for sandwiches, Winding River Rapids, and beach treats. And then this little cabin out in the woods. Whale in the center. Kids zone. Okay. Another little cabin out here as well. All right. Let's look at the employee's handbook here. Welcome to Adventure Park Employee Handbook. This handbook explains the rules and protocol that are to be followed in order to keep the park running smoothly and efficiently. Please be sure to read it carefully and consult it before contacting the management team. Adventure Park is a water playground, the first of its kind in the Golden State. We've pioneered numerous thrilling attractions, including the Tsunami Wave Pool, Torpedo Peak, Winding River Rapids, Thunder Bay, Calypso Peak, Pirates Plunder Kid Zone, Wipeout Alley. Construction begins May 3rd for the debut summer of '82. Okay, so that answers our first question. This is an old handbook from before 1982. Appearance and hygiene, always wear a clean uniform. Collars must be ironed. It makes sense that the killer here may be an employee. So I guess we start to, everything that the employees had access to and knew may be relevant for us. Shirts tucked in, collars ironed. You can buy additional polos for $10, white socks, tennis shoes, laces tied. If you're a food and beverage employee, you have to wear a hat. Smoking, drinking, chewing gum are prohibited. Heavy makeup's not allowed. Always be on time. If you can't work a shift, trade shift with coworkers. Okay. Spills. If there's a spill or accident, call custodial immediately. Close waterways until you can deal with it. Discounts. 50% off food. You've got a meal card. You've got your ID card. You can't drink alcohol during work hours. It's not discounted. You can use your ID cards to get 20% off. Employees must enter through the northwest entrance. Please do not enter through the general entrance. Your passes will not work. Encouraged to use the Sea Otter lot for parking and drop-offs. Okay. So where does it want people to come in? That says use the Otter lot, but it says northwest entrance. So here's the main entrance. What other entrance is there though? It's not on the map really. Where did they want people coming in from? Northwest would be here, but maybe they mean here. I don't know. I don't see any other entrance. Passes. Guest passes handed out quarterly. You'll get 2 per quarter. You need an employee pass. Ask your supervisor. If you lose a pass, let your supervisor know. Work week is Saturday to Friday. Paychecks the following Friday. You can get an advance for a $5 fee. Problematic guests. Occasionally you'll have guests who are obnoxious to other guests, refuse to follow rules. It's important that Adventure Park staff are always smiling and are never rude to our guests. Give guests an initial warning. Continue. If they don't respond, call for security. They'll handle it. You don't get involved physically. If you identify a guest who's drunk, don't sell them more alcohol. Offer them complimentary water. Tell them to stay out of the water. Otherwise, contact security. Safety and accidents. Always keep an eye out for weak swimmers. If you see a struggling swimmer, pull them to safety. Ask them to wear a vest. All injured guests should be sent for treatment and evaluation at the nurse's station. If you think they have injuries to their neck or spine, do not attempt to move them. Call security. Security office should be contacted in any situation requiring the police, fire department, or ambulance. Lifeguards should always wear their whistles. Employees should be aware of the meaning of the calls. A whistle burst is a warning. Call to swimmers to stop what they're doing and be alert. A whistle burst could mean the lifeguard needs to leave the stand to intervene in a situation. Maybe it means a one whistle burst is a warning. A 2 whistle burst is the lifeguard needs to leave. So he or she is running to take care of a problem, so other lifeguards got to take over. A 3 whistle burst, there is a life or death situation, backup is needed. I love the detail of this. This is what these longer cold case games give you that the shorter ones don't, these longer documents. Okay, walkie-talkies used to communicate. Discussing dangers with guests could lead to termination. Use the following codes to help communicate with the appropriate departments to take care of matters. So a code V means someone vomited. Close off waterway signal to the custodian. Code H is blood, I guess hemoglobin, blood. Sighted blood in the pool or the cool decking can cause panic. If you see blood, use wet floor signs to block the views. Code brown is feces. You know what they say, feces spreads diseases. Whether it's a dirty diaper at Pirate's Plunder or a floating log at the base of Torpedo Peak, tell guests to find the nearest exits. A signal 55 means call the police. A code 101, a ride is closed for maintenance. Code 102 is it's back open again. A code 108 is a lost child or parent. Do not use the word lost, it may cause panic. Children should be sent to the lost and found until a parent arrives. A signal 25 is a fire. Not sure why it's at signal 25. Escort guests out of the area immediately. Use fire extinguishers. A signal 26 is a drowning. Lifeguard should perform CPR. Guests should promptly be escorted away from the area. In order to maintain a fun in the sun environment, never share details about the incident with other guests. Continued. Walkie-talkies are to be checked out at the start of each shift. If you lose one, you're going to get a $25 fine. Uniform. Wearing the proper uniform is a work requirement. All employees are given 1 complimentary uniform. When hired, lifeguards will receive 1 lifeguard shirt, a swimsuit, and a whistle. Other workers will receive a polo and staff shorts. Additional uniforms may be purchased in the personnel office. So I guess you could buy any uniform you wanted. Your if you wanted to impersonate someone. Weather closure. In the event of rainy weather, call your supervisor within 30 minutes of your shift to see if the park will be closed. Okay, that's our employee handbook. Are those small features a lifeguard post? No, these aren't going to be lifeguard posts here. Those are too far away. Doesn't look like they're showing lifeguard posts, except maybe these. Maybe that's the lifeguard post. That little thing there. Possibly. There is 2 here for the water. 2 for the water, 1 for this water, 1 for this water, 1 here. So maybe. Water, they may be lifeguard place, or they may be photography stands. All right, so we were told they pulled missing persons from 100 miles away. Let's take a closer look at this. So our victim, our first job is to identify our victim. Look, it could be anyone here. So all sex, all age. There's our zip code within 100 miles, 1982. So it looks like they've identified the time they think these remains are from between May 1st, 1982, or April 30th, and May 31st. So there's a month-long period that they think this person may be missing. It's a lot of people missing in the area. Most of these are just going to be runaways, and a few of them are going to actually have never come back. All right, we'll come back to that in a bit. So here we have a newspaper clipping. Is this going to be from the time or a new? Oh, they hushed up what happened now. So I think these are going to be from the time. Local water slide collapses by Bob Mosamoto. Tragedy struck the town of Los Puentes Tuesday at Adventure Park when the water slide known as Wipeout Alley suddenly broke open a few minutes after 2 p.m. Witnesses say they heard a deep groan, followed by the sound of the metal bolts failing. Then suddenly a segment of the slide near the top simply broke loose, spilling riders down 4 stories of scaffolding. Ouch. The water park was hosting an annual Stellar Student Day for Lindley High School when a group of rowdy friends decided to rush the slide, pushing past attendants to form a train inside the tube. That's when the security team says everything went wrong. 2 fatalities resulted from the incident, and 3 more riders were left in critical condition. Wow. In all, 18 victims were taken to the hospital for their injuries, all of them students. A sophomore at LHS who wishes to remain anonymous recalls the incident. Me and my sister had made it up to the 4th platform when we heard shouting from the lower levels. All of a sudden, everyone was pushing and shoving, and we were all pinned against the guardrail. I couldn't hardly breathe, and I looked at my sister. There was terror in her eyes, and like we thought we were going to die. Her sister remembers the incident. It was truly terrifying. I grabbed my sister's hand and just held on, but everyone was pulling me toward the opening of the slide, and I lost her. It was cheerleaders and football players mostly. Everyone was shouting. At one point, I grabbed the top rim of the slide and just held on. That's when the whole structure just started shaking. Authorities say Adventure Park will be closed until a thorough investigation of the incident is completed. Its owners refuse to comment on the tragedy. A memorial is being held at Lindley High School next Saturday at 6 p.m. in the auditorium to remember the lives of Tricia Anderson and Sean Jenkins, the victims of this tragedy. The community is encouraged to give toward the victims' medical bills. Friends of the victims have started a crowdfunding page to cover funeral costs and medical bills. If you wish to contribute, you can find the link on our website under today's top stories. Now, if this is 1982, that's unlikely to be what's going on. So when is this article really from? 1982 wouldn't have been a website and crowdfunding. Slow down, bulldozer, bulldoze my land, stop parking on my land, Adventure Park must be stopped. Neighboring homeowner Tom Roundtree protests the recent water slide tragedy. Okay, let's see. Guard stab prisoners dead. Lockdown incident instituted Tuesday. Fight broke out in the prison cafeteria. Does this mean we have a prison nearby? Julian Regional Hospital. Guard is said to be in stable condition. Deputies identified the deceased prisoner, Angel Rodriguez. He had pled innocent for the murder of his stepson back in the 80s. So this is definitely not 80s. Maybe this is current day. He'd served 40 years. Angel had been awaiting an appeal. Water shortage impacts local residents. July is fast approaching. California is facing one of the most severe droughts. Governor has declared a drought emergency. Okay. Here's an article about the food scene. Grumpy's Dine-In Burgers officially opened its doors in Los Puentes this week. The heart of Los Puentes' new establishment, not only mouth-watering burgers, crafting a good dining experience. Lucas Peralta, Grumpy's, it's about a combination of flavors. Guarantee our burgers will leave you anything but grumpy. Nice vegan burger. Okay. Encouraged to drop by and decide for themselves if a Grumpy Dine-In burger will be their new go-to spot. Then we've got an article here about a wife hiring a hitman. Tranquil ambience of Los Puentes was disrupted last Tuesday. Jacob Mitchell, respected local businessman, returned from an overseas trip to find law enforcement officials at his residence. In a deeply distressing revelation, he was informed of his wife, Rebecca Mitchell's arrest for allegedly attempting to contract a hitman. Okay, Detective Laura Gibson. Our investigation has shown this wasn't an impulsive act. She communicated with someone she believed capable of carrying out the act. Fortunately for public safety, that individual was an undercover officer facilitating her arrest. He's in a state of disbelief. They always seem like a happy family. Our sons would play football together. Didn't think this would ever happen to us. Many questions left unanswered. Residents are offering support to Jacob and the children's couple. Okay, so maybe this is a current day newspaper. Does the introduction letter talk about this incident? Park had a share of problems. She was going to make away. That's when human remains were discovered. They pulled some strings and kept it covered up. Okay, let's see what the chat is trying to call my attention to. Did you see the article on the front side? There's a water shortage in town, presumably being caused by the water park. It's true that if there's a water shortage, you could see why people would be upset about the park. But from our introduction, it sounded like they discovered these remains when they were digging up the place to put in a new ride. So presumably they discovered remains that have been there for a long time, but I guess you could You could say someone planted some old remains on the property just to cause a ruckus. That's an interesting theory. All right, what have we got? Forensic report. 2 pages. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, looks like it's 1920. 2022, 23, 24, something like that. So this is very recent. Here's the body they found. The remnants of the Wipeout Alley were being removed to make way for a new attraction. So it's Wipeout Alley that they're tearing down, which is this one here. The demolition began at 8 when a crew was brought in by Halverstad Construction to remove the existing slide segments and supports. By 6:45 p.m., the final beams had been removed and the concrete foundation was being broken up. Removal began at the northwest corner. Half of the slab had been loaded in dump trucks for disposal. The remains were spotted by the backhoe driver, John Laramie. He first noticed the fragments of blue plastic tarp. After removing a surrounding bucket of dirt, he uncovered what looked like the sole of a shoe and quickly called to his leader, Jeremy Chandler. The project was halted immediately and a 911 call was placed at 7:10 p.m. Los Puentes police roped off the area. Coroner investigator arrived to process the scene at 7 a.m. the following morning. 1 victim. Condition of remains. The body was found wrapped in a largely decomposed blue plastic tarp and lying within clothes. Soft tissues were no longer present. The skeleton lay prone with arms at side. So prone meaning face down, arms at side. Dark brown hair was present. In all, 204 bones were exhumed from the site. The remains appear to be undisturbed by animals, presumably due to their location. The distal and medial phalanges of the right thumb are noted as missing. That's odd. Maybe we're going to see a diagram of that in a bit. Clothing and accessories. Dark blue unisex coveralls with slanted zippers across the chest, size medium. Brown staining and in moderate condition. Contents from coverall right chest zipper. 2 bus tickets to San Antonio, Texas. $3,000 in cash. 2 California driver's licenses belonging to Jose Montoya and Pamela Sinclair. And in the right front pants pocket, cherry lip balm. Boy, that's a bit strange. So a couple of things to notice. It sure sounds like that it was buried in the concrete, wrapped in a tarp. So in other words, during the construction of this place, originally someone dumped the body in there. Is that right? Concrete foundation was being broken up. Northwest corner. Half the slab had been loaded. The remains were spotted by the backhoe driver. That sure sounds like it's someone buried in the concrete foundation. Doesn't it? Or right near it. But no one has dropped this body in here recently, right? It's been buried in some location that they had to use a backhoe to dig up. This is very odd bit of information about 2 driver's license and $3,000 in cash and 2 bus tickets. That's crazy. Let's see if we get more confirmation about the body being actually in the concrete foundation. Okay, here we are continuing. Clothing. White ribbed tank top, size small medium. discolored in very poor condition, white cotton underwear, partially decomposed, stained brown and in extremely poor condition, white cotton crew-length socks with 15-centimeter nylon embroidered emblem, or vertical navy blue lines that flare out at the bottom. So are those going to be the required white socks that you have to wear as part of your uniform, or some other logo? White high top sole measuring 22 centimeter, discolored and in very poor condition. So high tops are kind of sneaker that were common in the 80s, 70s. Sex identification. The skull shows. What does the skull show? Pronounced glabella, and prominent supraorbital ridges. There are enlarged mastoid processes of the temporal bones. Pelvic evaluation revealed an acute V-shaped subpubic arch 52 degrees. The greater sciatic notch is narrow and deep. I suppose someone's going to tell us whether that's female or male. I don't know. Age estimation. The bones of the skeleton show differing rates of epiphyseal fusion. Fusion at the distal end of the tibia and fibula are nearly complete. So we can do a web search on these things. Don't go off and do it on your own. We'll do it if we don't get told. Fusion at the distal end of the tibia and fibula are nearly complete. They measure 32.26 centimeter and 32.11 centimeters respectively. The ossification center of the medial clavicle is visible. However, the epiphyseal plates are not yet fused. Guess it's telling us this is a young person. Fusion of the distal radius is complete. The femoral head shows signs of fusion. However, a break along the epiphyseal scar has occurred due to degradation of the remains. The humeral medial epicondyle are fused with a visible scar. So it looks like we may have to do our own research to finding out what these means. I understand the chat wants to do its own research. I guess that would be okay, but we'll want to do this ourselves for completion, so you might want to just wait. Traumatological findings. Perimortem trauma. A stab mark is present on the left-hand side of the C5 vertebrae. Cut mark continues along the bone's anterior surface from left to right, measuring 54 millimeter. So are we saying someone was deeply cut in the back from left to right? And that would make you right-handed if the person is in front of you face down. Multiple cut marks are also present on the right metacarpal along the interphalangeal joint. 3.12 millimeter kerf raised edge are consistent with a coarse serrated knife. So they're saying what wounds happened before death and after death. They don't know what happened after death. They think this happened before death. I'm not sure why. Perimortem, or maybe causing of death. Can someone look up perimortem? So it's not premortem, postmortem. Must be what caused death or during death. And are they talking here about the thumb? Yes. Melissa says she thinks this is a description of a male. We'll do our own research in a minute. Okay, but here's conclusion of the autopsy coroner. Victim shows sign of trauma to the right thumb, stabbing to the left side of the neck. I see it's very high up in the back, the neck. Remains were wrapped in a blue tarp, buried on the premises of the Wipeout Alley water ride prior to the foundation being poured. Victim's belongings appear to be otherwise undisturbed. Okay, so we were right. put in the foundation right before it was being poured, presumably. Serrated knife cut the right thumb for some reason. Maybe torture, but you're not torturing someone to get them to confess money because you're burying them with $3,000 that you obviously would have found. It's right on their chest pocket. Okay. I guess that may be additionally how they think they know the date of this person being killed, because they know when the foundation was poured. All right, so we'll want to go and do some research on this stuff. The chat thinks this is the description of a male body. Defensive wounds on the thumb? No. No. Stabbed and killed at the back of the neck, drawn from left to right. You don't get a defensive wound on your thumb. You get defensive wounds on your palm, multiple cuts. Not someone who's cut off the thumb and kept it, right? The bones are missing from the thumb. Autumn says the anterior is the front of the neck. Okay, let's take another look at that. That is kind of important. Stab mark present on the left side of the C5 vertebrae. Cut continues along the bone's anterior surface from left to right. So maybe someone behind them cutting their throat? It's kind of hard to deeply cut someone's throat from the front, but if they've cut into the bone on the vertebrae, maybe you're talking about cutting from behind. We'll investigate all of that in detail eventually. It's going to put it aside for now. Here we're going to get some more description, perhaps. Thumb could be for fingerprints. I don't think so. You'd have to take off all the fingerprints to get rid of someone's fingerprints. All right, what have we got here? Looks like little medical documents on epiphyseal plates. Humans are born with basically 300 bones, which lengthen and fuse along seams called epiphyseal plates. When fully grown, we're looking at a skeleton of 206 bones. Because these epiphyseal plates fuse at different stages as we age, depending on location and sex, they can be a useful tool to determine the age of the victim. So here are all these different plates that fuse at different points. So are we being given ages here between 14 and 19, 16 and 19, 17 and 23? So perhaps, let's see. Fusion at the distal end of the tibia and fibula are nearly complete. So there's our tibia. Distal radius, let's see. Fusion of the distal radius, femoral. All right, let's put these on the screen at the same time so we can see better. Fusion at the distal end of the tibia and fibula. I guess that would mean distal from the center of mass. So this proximal and distal tibia here and here are complete. Distal end of the tibia and fibula. Okay, so distal end here looks like we're being told for a female, which is this sign here. So what you see here, when you see two entries, the top one is going to be for a female, the bottom one for a male. So if it is a male and the distal tibia is fused, I think we're talking about 14 to 18 age, and that 14 to 18 male, That's what the distal tibia being fused tells us. The distal fibula was also fused, nearly complete. So near the end of the age range, but maybe not fully there. Distal tibia goes 15 to 18. So we still got an 18-year target age from that. I'm not sure. I guess you could use this. You could use the sizes maybe to give you a general height of this person. Ossification center of the medial clavicle is visible but not yet fused. Okay, where's our clavicle? Okay, clavicle is up here. It's right at the collarbone. The medial clavicle is not yet fused. So medial clavicle for men looks like 17 to 25. It's begun, so I think it's giving us a fairly tight age range. If our other age locks off at 18, no later than, and this one wouldn't have started before 17, I think we have a 17 to 18-year-old range now. Let's see, the medial clavicle is visible. Fusion of the distal radius is complete. Where's our distal radius? Or is that talking about the clavicle? Proximal radius, distal radius. Okay, distal radius is complete. So that happens between 17 and 23. So again, it's locking our age at around 18, it looks like to me. Femoral head shows signs of fusion. Okay. So there's our femoral head, which would fuse between 14 and 200. But there's a scar, so they can't be sure, I guess. The humeral medial fused with a visible scar. I wonder if that means this person had some serious accidents, right? It's got scars. The scars don't happen post-death. Scars would have to have happened and healed pre-death. Medial epicondyle, where is that? Here's the epicondyle here. So it looks like this person may have had a broken arm, is what it looks like to me. Humeral medial, fused with a visible scar. That's 14 to 16. So I get the age at around 17 to 18 with maybe a guess closer to 18. And then maybe we think broken arm, broken elbow. Femoral head shows sign of fusion, break along the epithelial scar. Epithelial is fused with the scar, so right at the elbow. We don't know left or right, though. Broken elbow. Okay, so that's what I've got. 17 to 18 years old, broken elbow. That's assuming we're right that it's male, which I'm just taking the word from the chat. John says, how are you ruling out the upper ranges of the early 20s? I agree it can't be younger than 17, 18. How are we ruling out the upper ranges? And then the channel says, is it the femoral? Okay, so let's see if I've done some things wrong here. Let's start with the last one first, about whether it's the elbow or the femur. It says the femoral head shows signs of fusion. However, a break along the scar has occurred due to degradation. The humeral medial epicondyle are fused with a visible scar. So the humeral medial is elbow. So we've got an elbow fused with the scar, but we've also got the femoral head showing signs of fusion, but a break along the scar. So it looks like we've got a possibly broken leg and elbow. Femur, fibula. We're looking now for the femoral head. Where is the femoral head? Is it going to... Femoral head is hip. Okay, so it looks like we've got a broken elbow and a broken hip. To me. Do we agree on that? Let's start there. Broken elbow, broken hip. This is all based on it being male. I've just taken the word of the chat that it's male. If we should have, I should have verified that first, because if it's not male, we have to recalculate the ages. So maybe before we go back to answer Jonathan's question, let's confirm for ourselves whether it's male or female. Okay, let's see. Well, we can bring up a website. Does anyone want to talk about what they found on the sex? Let's, okay. All right, well, I don't care about the driver's license. I care about the autopsy bones for identifying the gender. I'm not going to trust, obviously. Let's do it this way. I'm not going to trust, obviously, the driver's license. Okay. So, sex identification. The supraorbital ridges, sometimes known as the brow ridges and the glabella, are more pronounced and rounded in males and less marked in females. Okay, so that's our first sign that it's a male. Pronounced glabella and orbital ridges. Okay, so that's our first sign that it's male. Enlarged mastoid processes on the temporal bones. Okay, let's see if we can't get a little extra confirmation. Okay. Large mastoid processes. Mastoid process is the most exploited anatomical structure of the temporal bone for sex estimation. Male mastoid processes are more robust and inferiorly projected than the female ones. Okay, more confirmation that it's male. How about okay, certainly does seem like we're dealing with a male body here. I wonder if we might be able to estimate size from some of this. Okay, V-shaped pubic arch. Male pelvis has a V-shaped pubic arch, approximately 70 degrees, less than 70 Pubic arch is usually wider in the female, about 80. Okay, so this one is 52. All right, so everything says male. I think we can be pretty confident that it's male. And we can now move on. All right, now, Jonathan was calling into question the age range. Okay, let's do this again. Make sure we've got this right. So we're looking at fusions to get our age ranges. We started with the distal end of the tibia. There's distal tibia and distal fibula. Okay, the distal tibia for a male finishes at 18 years old. So these are finished. So we know that we've got 14 to 18 range. Let's start over again here. So we know it's 14 to 18 so far from the distal tibia. And then we're going to try to narrow it down more. Okay, the distal fibula is also finished. That goes 15 to 18. So now we're in the 15 to 18 range, right? Can't be younger than 15 or the distal fibula wouldn't be finished. But it says nearly complete, nearly complete. So actually, this is our soft range, probably not older than 18. And shouldn't be younger than 15. So we've already got a 15 to 18 range, right? Can't be older than 18 because it's nearly complete, right? Nearly complete, so it's got to be towards the end of these ranges, but not past it. So that's how we got our 15 to 18 range now. Does that make sense? And the channel is saying that, yes, once it's fused all your life, so there's no upper range. That's exactly right, except that here we have a nearly complete. So it is not finished. That's the key. The fact that it's nearly complete, but not complete, suggests that it's not past that range. Does that make sense to everyone? But then we've got other things that are complete. So fusion of distal radius is complete. So there's the distal radius. That looks like wrist. Wrist goes 17 to 23. It is complete, so this range doesn't help us. We know this has to happen finished before it's 23, but shouldn't have finished before 17. So I think that's where we get our 17 lower bound, right? Because it's finished, and it wouldn't have finished before 17. So I think that makes our lower bound 17 and our upper bound 18. That's what I've got. So I think it's likely we've got an 18-year-old, but we can definitely cap it into that 17 to 18 range, I believe. We've got some bones that are fully fused, some bones that are nearly fused. So that gives us our min-max. All right. And here, I guess, is what we just looked up online, which was kind of fun to look it up online. But here it is. The game is giving us some information about determining sex. Many features of the skull and pelvis can be used to determine sex. Jotted down a few in order to help you determine. Okay, so this is what we looked up on the web to help us out a little bit. Difference between male and female skulls. Let's just go look at this out of curiosity. So the glabella is right here. little more prominent in the male, more straight line smooth in a female, more curved and sloping in the male, the forehead. Where's the mastoid process? That was an interesting one. Down. Is that the D? Where's the mastoid? I don't see it. Is it jaw? Mastoid? I don't see D. Unless this is the D. But it should be larger in the male. Is it off map here? No. I don't see the D behind the ear. You think here's the D? Why can't I see any label of D unless you think this is a D? Maybe that's the D. Okay. Well, we've confirmed it's male. We've got our age, and here's more sex determination from pubic arch. Here we go. Here's our height estimation. I was wondering if we weren't going to be able to get that. Okay, let's look at this. How are we going to estimate the height of this person? Height can be estimated by this formula. For males, height is 2.42 times the tibial length plus 81.93. And this is just showing us I'm not sure. Okay, but do we have this guy's measurement so that we could do this on him? Yes, we do. Okay, so what do we want? We want the tibial length. All right, let's see what we got. Distal end of tibia and fibula are complete, 32.26 and 32.11 respectively. So we want the tibia, 32.26. That's the tibia length. And our height calculation is 2.42. I guess we're going to need to go up into here to do this. 2.42 times 32.26 plus 81.93. All right, 2.42 times the tibial length, 32.26 plus 81.93. That looks right. Okay, so 160 centimeters. Okay. Okay, well, 5.25, so 5.3. No, yes. I guess we could do it if we wanted to get it right. 5.25 feet divided by 3 inches. Okay, so 5'3". 5'3", 18-year-old male. So that's our victim, a 5'3", 18-year-old male. Five foot three is pretty small for an 18-year-old male. Yes. 5'3" is pretty small. Let's take a look at our sheet of missing people. Let's see if we've got any candidates here. "5'8", 5'3". Okay, so in 1982, we think, no, we don't know when this foundation was poured, do we? Why do I keep thinking it's 1982? I see, because that's the date we do have. We actually do know when construction begins, summer of 82. Okay, so 1982, an 18-year-old would be 1965. Is that right? 1965 would be a 17-year-old. So we're looking for someone 1964, 1965. That's our target birth date, right? Because 18 years from then would be, yeah, 17 years would be 85 minus 3 if they're 17 minus, let me make sure I got the years right. So if they were 18 years old, 70 would be 83. And here would be 82. And if they're 17 years old, 81. (1964) if they were 18 years old, and 1965 if they were 17 years old. Okay, so there's our date of birth we're looking for. All right, so this kid's not quite the right age. 64, 65, but he's too tall. Too tall. Woman, woman, woman. Too young. Too tall. Woman. Too young. Woman. Here we've got a candidate. Manuel Lujan. He's the right age. He's the right height. Let's keep going. Too old. Woman. Woman. Too old. Woman. Too tall. Too old. Woman. Too old. Too young. Too young. Too young. Too old. Woman. So Manuel Lujan is the only one that jumps out here. Now you could ask that you can't fake heights, but you could live under a different gender. So if we decided to consider the women living under a different gender, let's just see if we have any candidates. 66. I mean, she's a little too tall. But it's just an estimate. We're not told what the range of estimates. So if we wanted to consider cross-dressing, living under the identity, we could think about Judy Fuller, although she's pushing it. She's outside of our range of height. She's outside of our range of years by a year or so. But let's just see. 5'6", that's too far out of our range. 5'2", 66. It's out of our range, but I'll just put her down. I don't expect any of these to come through. I just want to keep an open mind here. 5'4", 63. I guess she would be in that same list. It makes sense that if we're ruling most people out because they're too tall for 5'3", it makes sense you catch a couple more women since they have a statistically shorter height. 67, 5'6", that's too far. 4 foot. Boy, there's a short guy. 4 foot, nothing wrong with being short, just noting it. Okay. So, but it sure looks like our best candidate here is Manuel Luan. He's in our window too, right? I guess they're all in our time window. Am I saying a boy masquerading as a girl? Yes, it would be a male body from the bones, but could be living as a woman. Pretty young age to be living as a woman, though. So unlikely. I think, does anyone disagree that we only have one real male candidate, Manuel Luan? I guess it sort of depends on how accurate our height range is, but we picked anyone in the range. Okay, so I think we've got our probable, well, we don't know that it's one of these people. It could be someone that didn't show up as a missing person, but of that list, Manuel Luan looks like our prime candidate. Okay, we're going to take an 8-minute break here. We'll come back and continue playing Welcome to Adventure Park. So far, so fun. 25 concurrent viewers. I'll see you in 8 minutes.
I'll make it up. I'll make it. I'll make it. I'll make it.
Okay, we've got our age range, we've got our height, we've got our sex, and we've got our most likely missing person. Let's continue now. We have a couple more documents to get through. It looks like we actually have a letter that might have been a good introduction. It says, Detective Quinn, thank you for taking this case. I can't believe this is happening to us. Ever since I took over the park, it's been one thing after another. First, there was the tragedy with Wipeout Alley. That's the thing we read about in the newspaper. Then John uncovered the remains. Now my dad is in prison? How can they do that? What proof do they have? My dad wasn't even there when the ride was being built, and I can prove it. For years, I've been bugging Dad to sell off Mom's horses and clean out the stables. She can't ride them anymore, and the extra stalls are overflowing with outdated fixtures from old building projects, and there are boxes and boxes of tax paperwork from literally decades ago. Thank God he didn't listen. Any person in their right mind would have shredded this stuff years ago, but it's all there. I spent the weekend sifting through everything from blue chip stamps to baseball cards and found a few things that should solidify his innocence. Right before that ride was built, Mom and Dad hosted an anniversary dinner. It was an amazing party. My mom invited their closest friends and a few people from the park to run the pool party and the hors d'oeuvres. She even hired their favorite hibachi chef to cater the dinner. The employees pooled their money and presented them with 2 plane tickets and a week's stay in Barbados. I had their bags packed and took them to the airport that evening after dinner. I remember it like it was yesterday. For some reason, I found Mom's ticket, but I couldn't find Dad's. Everything else seems to be there from that night. It may be more information than you need, but I wanted to make sure you have everything necessary to connect all the dots. Then Dad's name will be cleared and this giant conspiracy will be cleared up. I'm sorry, this just has me shook, really has me shook. I know I shouldn't be because I'm so confident he's innocent, but you never think this sort of thing can happen to you. Please help me prove his innocence. Okay, so here's our client. We're given the task of figuring out what really happened, but our client just wants us to prove her father's innocent. She says she can prove her dad is innocent because right before it was built, they went away. They should have gone away for a week in Barbados while it was being excavated and the foundation pulled. That would give him a strong alibi. They were going to Barbados. She took them to the airport and she found the father's plane ticket. She found the mother's plane ticket, but they know that they bought them 2 plane tickets. Employees bought 2 plane tickets. She took them to the airport. Is it possible he didn't get on the plane, though? We don't know. I guess they convicted him of that murder, the dead body, but maybe we'll find out about this. Still no date here. Okay, let's see. This may be her father and mother at their anniversary or wedding. Venus and Harold, May 8, 1982. Okay, this is definitely going to be her mother and father. Right. And our client is Candace. Okay, let's see. Let's party, this says. You're invited, Harold and Venus Halverstad, celebrating 20 years on May 8th, 1982. So this was taken at the anniversary party. They had been married for 20 years. Where at Adventure Park, come in formal attire for a glamorous night. Bring your swimsuit for an after-hours affair. And remember that the ride that the body was buried in, this says construction begins May 3rd. This was May 8th. She says he left. She says, my dad wasn't even there when the ride was being built. But according to our records, the ride construction would have happened before this. So was the foundation poured before they left or dug up before they left? That we don't know yet. And then we've got some guest book stuff. When you have an anniversary party, people come and they sign the guest book. Oh, look at this. Here's the airplane ticket. Wow, look how cool this is. This is a real looking airplane ticket. So this is Venus's boarding pass. It's her boarding pass. Okay. It was checked in at Barbados, so I guess that means she got on the plane. Not sure. Yes to smoking. issued on the 1st of May. Okay. Leaving on the 8th of May, and then she's in 23A. We've got a little map of the plane here. So here she is, 23A, for what it's worth. Look, here's the smoking section at the back of the plane in 1982. Those days are long gone. All right, we'll worry about that in a second. Let's look over the guest book. Maybe we're going to see someone signing in the guest book a little oddly. These may be mostly employees. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. H. This party's rad. The open bar is gnarly. Thanks for the invite, Derek. Okay, very different handwriting, these people. Harold and Venus, you two are great people. Let me do it this way. You two are great people. Sorry about the van, the fog, you know how it gets. Anyway, have fun on the trip, Chad. Senor and Senorita H, muchas bendiciones. Mijo and I are so grateful for your generosity. When I first came to this country, I had nothing. I was a house cleaner, but you made me like family. Que Dios le bendiga, Minerva Rodriguez. Okay. Minerva Rodriguez. Okay. Well, they're in California. No surprise that there are lots of Spanish-speaking people. There's another note. So far, no one disgruntled. Mr. and Mr. Halverstadt, I hope the cake turned out okay. I could carve a turkey blindfolded, but baking sucks. Thanks for covering for me Saturday night. I lost my temper. What can I say? Really am going to miss this place, though, and all the crazy shenanigans. It will probably be my last year. Candy told you I got my acceptance letter, right? Cook, soon to be chef, Toddy. The summer will be epic, Todd. Okay, so Candy is going to be our client, the daughter, Candace. What is he talking about, losing his temper? We don't know. Okay. Here's some more. Congrats to you and Venus on 20 years. You always were a lucky son of a gun. I still remember how eager you were to get back to married life after our tour back in '69. And shoot, who could blame you? Life wasn't exactly easy street in Nam. When our helicopter was shot down over Happy Valley, I thought we were done for, but you wouldn't let a thing like that keep you from your mission. So it sounds like he was in the Vietnam War. Who could have guessed that a radio operator, a crypto computer repairman, a surveying chief, and a helicopter pilot would become best of friends, wading through enemy territory with nothing but the rations in our pockets and a reed for a snorkel? Enough about old times. Wishing you and Venus the best. May we do this again for your 50th, Uncle Easy. And then we've got a note here up top. Hey, boss, what a week. You deserve this time off. Soak in the sun. We'll have everything running for you when you get back. All right. Here's some more. To Captain Harold and the lovely Venus. May your fountains flow with champagne and your taxman assume it is water. Ed and Mary Lawson. So your neighbor, Crazy Tom, is at it again. This time the sign says, Arbeit macht free, Halverstad. Guess whose swimming pool permit came across my desk last Friday? It's a shame it will be denied. So it looks like they have a disgruntled neighbor. That could be the guy we saw in the newspaper clipping. And this person is saying he's going to deny their pool permit. Be careful whose pool you piss in. Warren Coleman. P.S. Congratulations to my favorite vet friend. I'd work for you any day of the week. Okay. And here's what Candace wrote. Mom and Dad, so what do you think? The trip was my idea. Uncle Easy and I have been planning this for the past 3 months. Thank God I don't have to keep it a secret anymore. It was literally killing me. Bon voyage, Candy. Wow, I wish my parents were as cool as you. Candy is so lucky, Heather. Everyone has very distinctive handwriting. Mr. H, you and the missus have an awesome trip. Hunter. What a beautiful party this was. I'll see that it gets priority in the paper on Sunday. Christian. Wishing you love, health, and happiness, Sandy. Okay. And then on the other side, thanks for letting me play at your party, Steve S. Maybe this was a piano player. So that's our guest book with some handwriting samples from people that seem to like the couple quite a bit. Anna says, Arbit Macht Free says, work makes you free. What language is it? What's the sign of the concentration camp out at Auschwitz? Oh, I see. Ouch. So I wonder if that's going to be, where's our newspaper article? So this is the guy, neighboring homeowner, Tom Roundtree. So your neighbor, Crazy Tom. Okay, so Tom has it in for our adventure park owner, Harold, and here he is. So I guess we have got a suspect, someone who doesn't like this family. All right, here is their daily planner. Anniversary. Leave keys for easy. Stop by the flower shop. Rain expected. Have Ed cover the site. Check roads for tomorrow. So Ed sounds like he might be one of the custodians or one of the people involved in building. Maybe this Ed. Okay, so according to this, the building actually begins on Monday the 10th. It is a little odd that this document suggests that construction begins on May 3rd, but actual planning closer to the time suggests it was happening on May 10th. We don't have May 3rd, huh? Chemical delivery. Have Minerva check on Candy while I'm gone. Okay, so he's actually planning to be gone on the Barbados trip. Steel beams back ordered, unacceptable, pull contract from Frank. Call Christine. Publicity for new water ride, negotiate front page. Contract due for San Julian military. Check on crane rental. Okay. Check roads. Rain expected. No specific. Add gravel, cement load, 8 a.m. sharp. There you go. Cement load. That might be the first thing they build. They might be ready to pour the cement for the foundation on the 10th. What have we got here? Pack passport. Why is it packing passport on the 10th? Have boys check plastic for weeks? Have Ed bring tarps from storage? Season check, chlorine, towel shipment, coffee creamer, deli order. Leak in the pump house, ask maintenance why it hasn't been fixed. Pay cuts. Get ready, 10th and 20th anniversary party. I'm a little confused. Oh, this is the this is the 8th. Okay, this is times. So here's our overview of the week's planning. The 8th is the anniversary party. And then they're going to be getting on a plane right after that. And then on the 8th, here's his hourly schedule. At 10 a.m., pack passport. At 3 p.m., 3:30, get ready. And then at 4:30 is the anniversary party. And then the plane is boarding at 10 p.m. So they leave for their Barbados trip immediately. Leave 1 hour before flight. Those are the days, huh? Okay, so that's our trip. But look, pay cuts, tarps. Interesting. All right, now our last piece of evidence in our book 1 is here. Flight manifest to Barbados. What have we got? 67 passengers. No standbys. I confirm, not sure what that is. Total manifested. Infants manifested 3, children 8, females 25, males 31, bags checked 52. 58 checked in, 17 no-shows. So 67 on the manifest, 58 showed up, checked in, 17 never showed up. So not 58, 50. 50 and 17. Okay, total checked in 50. Male checked in 25, manifested 31. So 6 males didn't show up and check in. Let's see if our guy is among them. So Haverstead, it's not sorted alphabetically. What is it sorted by? Well, we know the seat of the mother, 23A. So it should be 23B, right? A or 23C. Okay. So there's 24A. That person's not related. Where's our 23? Let's make sure she showed up. Maybe we can get a little bit closer here. I can see there's something written on this side. I'll look at that in a second. So 24, why am I? These names look like they're scrambled. That's what this note is going to say, isn't it? It's going to say that they're corrupt. I was able to get my hands on the passenger list for Venus flight. It took a lot, but I hope a lot of digging, but I hope this helps us put the pieces together. Unfortunately, it appears to be encrypted. Encrypted Phineas. I don't know why it says Phineas. Yes, though, it's definitely encrypted, the first and last names. Okay, let's find our seats, though. So her plane ticket is 23A. Why was I having trouble finding that? These don't look like they're encrypted. Is there a backside to this? No. Okay, let's find it then. "23E. What's going on? Why is 23? Why is her seat not? Why do I not see her seat? Did she not show up? Am I overlooking at it? Overlooking it is 23D, 23E. What's going on here? Let me see what this range is. It goes to 29. Flight 0069 or 8069. So it's the right flight. From LAX to Barbados. This says not valid without flight coupon. I'm not sure. This could be the receipt, boarding pass. Boarding pass you keep and you take with you. Sometimes they tear it, sometimes they don't. But yeah, you would think you'd tear it if it got used and then you give the passenger one thing. I'm not sure what this stamp means anything. On the other hand, let me just see here. Females 25 manifested, 20 boarded. So missing 5 females, missing 6 males. I don't see either of them getting on board this plane, though. What's going on? Is there another page? There is not. Let me check the other side of this. Just says flight manifest. There's no more page. Not only is there no more page, but look, there's our 50 people. 50 people checked in, and here is a list of the 50 people who checked in. So we've got a complete list here. 50 people checked in. Here's all 50 of them. No one is sitting in her parents' seat. Boy, that's suspicious, huh? First class, business class. Can we tell what she was boarded in? What group? Is this her group here? Group 13? Sequence number. Let's see if we can, if that's what that is. There's a 13. 21D. They're first class. They're flying first class. So for whatever it's worth, they're flying first class. There aren't that many first class passengers. Is it possible they were sitting in a different seat than they were assigned? Boy, you'd have to be. It's a very weird situation that they wouldn't go on their flight. They've obviously planned it, showed up at the anniversary. She dropped him off at the airport. How would you explain not getting on this flight? It's not like they were kidnapped or captured. They come back a week later with a 10. Very strange. I wonder if it's possible they could have changed their seats. Then there's the issue of why does she still have this unchecked? Why does she have this unclipped card here? Uh, hmm. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 3, 3, 2. 11 letters. I just want to see if this is just scrambling letters. I see an uppercase letter at the far left. That suggests to me that these are just some replacements, maybe a Caesar shift or something, but that the letters are their proper length. So let me just see what an 11 letter last name looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. So our 11 letter last name is right there. So if they moved seats, we would be looking for this long last name in first class. Is it possible they moved themselves up? Do we have another person with this same scrambled last name? What about this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here we've got a couple with the right length of their last name. Husband and wife. But in business class, that doesn't make sense. But look, here's two first class people with the same last name of the right length. One up here, TY, one down here. In first class, 5E and 4A. That's a little weird. Why are they sitting in? Oh, here's another of that last name. That's 3 people with that last name. Okay, they're not, that doesn't make sense. There's just 2 of them traveling. But here's another pair. DTH, NH, DTNH. I suppose if we broke this encryption, it might help us. But here's a third person with that same last name. Very strange. On what basis are they ordering these names? Harold and Venus. So if you're looking for first names, you'd be looking for a 4-letter first name and a 6-letter first name. JXL, JXL, but then there's another third JXL. Well, yeah, the reason I'm looking at all this now is they're obviously not in, they haven't checked in on their proper seat. So either they didn't check in at all, or they've been moved in seats. And then if they're moved in seats, I'm assuming they're going to stay in first class. So there aren't that many first class passengers to check. And I'm operating under the basis that they're scrambling the last names probably through some sort of Caesar cipher. I'm not sure what Phineas, if that's a code for it, but short of decoding it, which we could try to decode since we know Halberstadt. But I'm just trying to see if I can find two people with the same encrypted last name that are still in first class that is the right length. Like here is a first class with the right length, but we've got 3 of these people with this same last name. That doesn't match up. What about this one? We've got 1, 2, and then another third one here again. Very strange. What about this one? That's business class. It just doesn't seem right. Although maybe they switched out. Maybe they tried to pocket the extra money and fly business class. Business class. Let's see, but there's only one of them. No, there's 2 of those. Venus. So 5-letter Harold. So just as an example here, I've got a 5-letter name and a 6-letter name. That would match Venus and Harold with this same last name, NSC, flying business class, 13B and 13C. So there's a good candidate for them checking in and saying, downgrade us to business class and we'll keep the extra money. It's an interesting idea. So then maybe I can mark here. So what I'm proposing, at least as a possibility, if we're investigating the possibility that they got on this plane together, but they didn't seat at the regular seats since there were so many no-shows, I'm proposing the possibility that that this is them. So same last name, 11-letter last name. So I propose that this maps to Halberstadt. And then here we're going to have Venus. And here we're going to have Harold, a 5-letter first name and a 6-letter first name. They've gone to business class, seated in 13C and 13B. And that's my proposal. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so if I'm right, and I'm not sure this is worth us spending too much time on now, but if I'm right, then whatever the encryption is, this maps to Venus. Okay, well, there's already a problem because we've got a J here and a J here, whereas Venus should be VENUS. So if it is using a substitution cipher, that's no good. All right, well, that was one possibility. What about this JXL? Is that another candidate? JXL, JXL. For A and 5E, not as effective. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, those are the wrong length for that first name. All right, let me check in with the chat. I mean, I may be investigating something that is premature for us to investigate. My gut tells me that it's too crazy to think they didn't get on this plane. Maybe they moved to a different flight for some reason. It's possible, but the daughter says she dropped them off there, so she would know if they weren't late. She would know that they were probably on time. Very strange. Any other candidates here for a couple traveling? These two. I'm ruling these out because, well, their first names are the wrong length anyway. GXL. What about this one? TNH. TNH. Then you've got another one, TNH. There aren't 3 of them traveling. All right, well, strange. So another possibility is that the seat numbers are also encrypted in some form, but it just doesn't feel like it. I mean, if they are, they've kept them to the exact same range as the regular seats. How about, okay, so here's another, here's an idea. If this is a substitution cipher, Caesar cipher, notice this. H.A. and his first name is Harold, H.A. So you'd be looking for a last name and a first name with the same starting digits, same starting letters. D.H. S.J. S.N. D.T. S.J. D.T.Y.N. I'm looking for things with the same number of letters as the last name. I don't think that one is it. UDZ. Okay, well, unless it's a more advanced encryption or we're not meant to ever decrypt it, I don't see it. It's also reads weird, right? Like this reads almost scrambled, not encrypted. There's too many of the certain letters. Doesn't feel right. V isn't a common letter, says Amazing Plate. There's lots of ways that it feels like we're attacking this and coming up empty-handed. If it's a substitution cipher, it feels to me like the easiest way to do this is Harold Haverstam is H-A-H-A. We should see the first two letters matching the first two letters here of the last name on an 11-letter name. That should be easy, should really jump out, and I just don't see it. So either it's a fake cipher, it's not encrypted, it's garbled. I don't think we're going to be able to solve this. If I had to pick one thing, I would pick these two and say that it's not using a substitution or Caesar cipher. Right number of last name letters, right number of first name letters. But not a substitution cipher. And that they've moved themselves to 13B and 13C for reasons unknown. Okay, but I don't think we can make progress on that at this point. We also don't know if this ticket means they didn't actually get on their flight at all. I suppose the most likely answer is that they actually didn't get on this flight. Though I don't know why that wouldn't have come out. Maybe that's why they arrested him, though, because his alibi didn't check out. Well, let's look at our assignment here. Sarah says, how about 23D and E? I'm not sure on what basis that would be relevant for us. Let's see, where's any 23s? So there's 23D. 23D has got a person with the right length of last name. But no one else with that last name. Yes, there is someone else with that last name. Well, okay, that's a good catch, actually. 23D and 23E do have matching last names. The last names are the right length. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And the right length of letters. So I guess those are reasonable second choices. I mean, reasonable additional choices for if the letters are not, if it's not a Caesar substitution cipher, those are pretty good candidates. 23E, 23E. So that would be, they just shift over a little bit. Right number of last name, letters in the last name. Right number of letters in the first names, 5 versus 6. And they're next to each other, 23D and 23E. They could just be shifted over by 1. That is not a terrible idea. That is not a terrible idea. I mean, it's better than my first shot. Same thing. They're the only two with that last name. It's just a matter of, is this just completely scrambled? But then would you expect the last names to be the same? Could be different ciphers for first and last names. Okay, could be anything, but that's not something the game needs us to figure out now. I'm sure of it. Let's take a look at what we've been asked to do. We need to discover who the remains belong to. Okay, so I think we're in agreement that we've only matched one candidate for this, and that is Manuel Luan. Okay, there's a good chance one of them is our missing person. Candace has sent over some evidence she thinks will exonerate her father. Check it out and see if you can shoot any holes through her claim. Well, I guess if our objective is to shoot holes through her claim, we're going to say that those seats were not checked in. So I think we do have an answer to that. And that's that her parents aren't on the manifest, didn't check in. Once you think you've solved these two objectives, contact me. So it feels like we're probably ready to solve our first packet, which is we've identified the person and we've identified that the parents don't appear to have gotten onto the plane. Don't appear to have gotten on the plane. So I think we might be ready to do it. Anna thinks we are also ready to do it. What does the channel think? Let's have a little vote here. Are we ready to answer those two questions? Who was it? Who's the body? And find holes in her claim that they have an alibi in Barbados. The dead body was found with airplane tickets, right? But they're not, they're to Texas, right? Two tickets to San Antonio, Texas, the body was found with. Joe Montoya and Pamela Sinclair. We should have also noticed that the body has dark brown hair. No sign of hair color here, but it's clearly not blonde. Okay, so Perry and Jonathan say we're ready. Anna has already said she's ready. And Tina says, how do we know the father wasn't in the plane? Because I'll tell you how. The mother was on, that's a good question. The mother is at 23A. Both people were dropped off together. No one has checked into 23A. No one is seated in 23A. So if we believe that these people would have checked into their proper seats, no one checked into the mother's or the father's seat. Sorry, 23A. That would mean, if you look at the flight, that the husband would have had to be in 23B, like seated next to her first class. Obviously, they're sitting together. If she's in 23A, that means the father has to be in 23B, and no one checked into 23B. And Tina says, but it is stamped in Barbados. Is it though? It does seem to be stamped in Barbados. Is that real? Does that mean they made it to Barbados? It's a weird thing. I mean, in a real flight, you don't get your boarding pass stamped when you arrive. That's not how it works. But it does say baggage check. That's a little different. When you normally fly, though, you don't get your boarding pass stamped. So I'm a little confused about the meaning of that. Unless this was your baggage check. It does say baggage ID ticket. So this could be that she picked up her bag in Barbados so that she was on this flight. But I also can't tell if the game wants us to say, like the game says our objective is to poke holes. So obviously this is the only hole we could poke. I can't tell if the game wants us to say they're not on the manifest and that's the hole, but then even later figure out that they were, they just moved seats. The only way we could solve this, it seems definitively, is if we could find the code. If they move to 23D and E, let's just look at that thing again. Where would they have moved? She had 23A, so she had a nice window seat. Would they move them over here? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? They give up their window seat. For what reason? Also, they're supposed to be flying first class, and these seats they moved into were business class seats. But that doesn't make sense, because first class is rows 1 to 5, business is 6 to 29. So why does this say they're in first class? Maybe that's a mistake. The seat 23 doesn't seem like first class. Well, can we change these names? Can we the only way to decrypt this well, if it is the substitution cipher, doesn't work. Can't make it work as a substitution cipher, and if it's not a substitution cipher, we're out of luck here. All right, I'm gonna stop the vote here. It looks like we have 2 for not ready, ready with caution, and ready. Okay, well, that's kind of ambiguous. Let me check in with the chat here. my theory, a father gave the ticket and the money to the boyfriend to get rid of him, but an accident happened. He buried him because he knew they'll pour concrete there on Monday, then flew away. And Tina says, could it be random substitution? It can't be a pure substitution, because we've got the same letters used multiple times that don't match with our first name and last names. Decrypt the last name first, maybe search for A position. Yeah, I looked at that. But I don't think it works, because we don't have many candidates for a last name and first name that work. So I think we've got two pairs of candidates that have an 11-letter last name and a 5 and a 6-letter first name. One's in 13B and C, and one's in 23D and 23E. But in both cases, we've got a problem, which is if the last name is Halverstadt, then you should have a A in the second position and an A in the third to last position. So that would be the T and the S. That doesn't work. Or if we think they're this last name, it would be the L and the M. So in other words, it can't even be random substitution of letters if those are going to be Halverstadt. Now, this one here does have a... okay, come on. So this one here does have a J in the second position and a J in the third position. That would be our A's. And then if a T was here and here, that would be Halverstadt. Okay, this one here does match up with the positions that the T's and the A's should be. The reason I rejected this last name, although now it's looking like the T's and the A's are matching pretty well, is because there's three of them. There's this one, this one, and that's a 6, that's a 5-letter, and that's a 6-letter, so that part is good. They're in 4A and 5F, pushed up to first class. That's very tempting, but the reason I rejected that is because, look, there's a third person with this same last name. Why would there be a third person with Halberstadt? However, this is very tempting. If this is an HA, then the J, and then Halberstadt puts the J over there. That's another A. And then the T's were here and here. Let me see. That would mean H would be the T and H would be A. T here. That would be for Harold. TJ, TJ. There's my double H's. Harold, Halberstadt, TJ, TJ. I think we found them. They've pushed themselves up to proper first class. And there's another Halberstadt on this plane. Now this is now it's gotten interesting. TJ, HA, HA, Halberstadt, Harold. Now, if that's right, Harold's last name ends with a D. So that would mean B maps to D. X maps to D. Now it fails. Oh, that's a real shame. H-A-H-A R doesn't work. O shouldn't be in here. All right, so that Harold Haberstadt sure looked promising for a minute, but now it doesn't work. Boy, I thought that was going to be it. JXL. So we've got a Venus, a Harold, and where is the... Then we have a third one down here. And another 5-letter. Boy, that's very... It's such a coincidence, though, that this looks like it matches up with Halberstadt. S-T-A-D-T, T-A-D-T. And that would be H-A, H-A. But then you should get R-J, R-O-L-D. This D doesn't match up with this. I don't rule out that we're going to be able to decrypt this, but it doesn't feel like a episode 1 task of decrypting. Does the boarding pass have anything on the back? No, it does not. I mean, it is tempting that they look like they have first-class tickets. Like, you could imagine a story where they have first class, but they're smoking, so they're in the back of the plane, and they walk on, they say, here you are in the back of the plane. They say, no, we want to be in first class. We have a first class ticket. And the guy says, well, you're in the smoking section. That's why you're back here. And they say, okay, we don't need to smoke. Put us properly in first class. That would make sense to why they would bump them up to first class. But why then are we not able to line up the names, even though it looks so tempting? It looks so close. Okay, the channel Jonathan is saying some people are suggesting we should look just for the wife. She could be on by herself. I just don't know how we're going to find that. If we say that she's just by herself and she's not seating in a regular seat, that's just going to be very hard to locate, isn't it? I mean, look at, even if it was a substitution cipher, that's going to help us get her name. Look at her first name. It's only got one letter in common with her last name. So, oh no, I guess we got an S. But and we have a V. Okay, three, sorry. Throw out everything I just said. We have 3 letters in common. So I guess we could look for a last name with a VE and VE. Okay, so 4th and 5th letters of the last name match the first 2. All right, we could look for that, boy, but okay, if we're looking for a last name, we're looking for the first 2 letters match the 4th and 5th letters. Last name, that's 11 letters. First 2, SJ, no. YN, no. No. LH, no. HF, no. AJ, no. GN, no. GN, well, there is a GN. So if this was Venus, VENUS, and this was Halberstadt, HALVE. Well, look, this is too big a coincidence. It's almost Harold, and it's almost Venus. We're back with our situation where this sure looks like HA, and here VE, VE. This is too big a coincidence. Here they are. This is them. There's Venus, and there's Harold. I just don't understand why we're not getting a match with the rest. Why it's coming to such a coincidence, but it's breaking down at the end. But look, VENUS, VEGN, and then here is Halberstadt, HALVEGN. And we're doing the same thing with the husband's name. If we think this is Harold, HA, and Halberstadt, HA, that's too big a coincidence. It's just that it's got to be that his name isn't on the booking as Harold. Could it be like Harry? Let me it's too big a coincidence here. I think we need to lock into these people that got moved to first class. But then there's 3 of them, which I find very bizarre. But let's focus in on them because that's too big a coincidence for me at this point. So let's find our 3 people that really seem like, and then the first class thing really seems to make sense too, why they would move. But the daughter didn't fly with them, right? So there's our 3 people with the HA last name and then HA. And then this would be the Venus, VE and VE. Are there any nicknames mentioned in the messages for them or on the back of the photo? Well, that's a good question. Let's see if we can't find that. So here's the photo, Venus and Harold. Harold and Venus, Halberstadt. And then let's take a look if anyone used any nicknames here. Mr. H. Captain Harold. What's that? Mr. and Mrs. H. Harold and Venus. Senor and Senorita H. Mr. and Mrs. Halberstadt. And here's Uncle EZ. Doesn't use Harold's first name, but Venus. It would be so bizarre for three people of that family to get on, though. And look, they're all sitting next to each other. Look, how can you have three people of this family? Like, you can't have an uncle sneak on if he's also in first class. 5E, 4A, 5F. Would Uncle EZ be sharing the flight with them unbeknownst to them? I don't see how. Have Ed bring tarps from storage. I mean, I guess Uncle Easy is not Ed. But where is what about have Minerva check on Candy while I'm gone? He's clearly planning on leaving. I feel like we can't have been meant to solve this. No matter what we do, it feels like it's going to be ambiguous. The coincidences here are huge, but I just don't know the fact that there's three of them with that same last name, the fact that the coincidences of last name and first name work until they don't. I find that very vexing. Marco thinks he's figured out Venus. Well, I'm going to explore this, but it seems unlikely to me, but okay. So you think she's the first one, TJY. Then we're going to take a break here, assuming this works or not. So you think this is Venus here. You think this is the VENUS. Okay. Now, if this is VENUS, then the A is the V, which is right for Halberstadt. And then there's the N, which is VE. So AN is AN. That's good. Let's see. And then Venus has an N, which is not in our word, a U, which is not in our word, and an S. Okay. So this is absolutely compatible with this being Venus and this being Halberstadt. Fine. But so is... Oh, wait a second. TJYA, TJYG, TJYG. So actually, this is a different name, even though it's almost identical. How can that be? It's off by one letter? What's going on here? This one and this one are the same last names, but off by one letter here? H-A-L, Halberstam and Halberstam? What is going on this? How can it be off by just one letter in an 11-letter last name? That's completely bizarre. But these aren't three people with the same last name. It's two people with the same last name and someone with a slightly different last name. Is it possible they got... And that's the one you think is Venus. The bizarre part is this name here also has that same exact match against this. If this is VE, then there's your HALVE. So this, by the logic of matching this one up, this one also matches up. And these two last names are wrong, but with a V and a B? That's bizarre. And these two people with one letter off in their 11-letter last name are in 4F and 5F? No, sorry, 4A and 5F. They're both flying first class within 8 feet of each other. What on earth is going on? What on earth is going on with this flight manifest? That's bizarre. That's really weird. If I had to guess, I would say it's a mistake by the designers of the game, but I'm curious to see. Okay, we're going to take a break now, and I think then we have to go check out the questions that the game wants us to answer. Wouldn't be too surprised if at this point the game wants us to say that there's a flaw in her alibi. And then later for us to figure it out, I'm not sure. We're going to take a break, give some thought to what you need to see before we go to the questions, but it just feels to me like this is not resolvable here, but I'll see you in 8 minutes. We're back. The channel is coming up with some wild conspiracy theories here. We're going overboard with this plane manifest. There's some discussion about the first class, second class, like why would you be bumped up? A theory about the smoking that I proposed before. But then Marcos's Harold could be TJAHYX, but there is no such name on here, so I don't know where you're getting that from. Jonathan thinks, I think it's just supposed to realize it's the wife flying alone. I just don't see how we could assert that. Then Antina says, do we know someone with the last name Aaron, the one sitting next to her? So I guess Antina's theory is that if this is our Venus, VE for Halverstadt. This is our Venus, and she is sitting in 4A. Then and Tina was saying, well, look who's sitting next to her in 4B. It's this person. And the way you've gotten Warren from this is how? Because you've got the last name Halverstadt, and this is Venus. Have you done substitution and gotten Warren, and have you gotten fully Coleman out of this one? Warren. So if you think this is Warren, Warren, you've turned the H's into R, which you've gotten because this is Halvalver. And you've turned the R into a W just because you've got the RAAEN. You're just guessing. Okay, and then C is an N because C is an N in Venus. All right, well, I do see how you could turn this into Warren. And then can you get Coleman out of this? The C is an N. And you think the J is an A, that works. We don't have a U. The N, M-A-N. The N is an E. N is an E, yes. But then the Y is an Y-A-N. The Y and L. Is that right? Halverstadt, yes. And the F we think would be an O. We don't have an F here, so we can't use it. D is a C. We don't have a C in there. So what we've got is very likely that this is Venus Halverstadt. And using the same substitution cipher, she's in 4A. If we look who's sitting next to her, we get something very close to Warren Coleman. I do feel like we're ahead of this game, where this game expects us to be. I agree with that. Where is our Warren Coleman here? Your neighbor's at it again. Warren Coleman. The real problem here is that if we've got Warren Coleman sitting right next to her in first class, and that doesn't match her ticket, and the workers bought these tickets for the two of them, it's a very bizarre situation. We've got these crazy coincidences. We got what looks like the last name, but is different by one letter, which would be like, do we even know what this letter is? If this is Halberstadt, this could be like Halberstadt instead of a V. That's a G. We don't have any more there. So we've got something very close to Harold Halberstadt, who's sitting in 5F. Is it just a coincidence that this person's last name is 10 out of 11 letters? That just seems so ridiculous to me. The idea of that kind of coincidence with them sitting 5 feet away, having an almost identical last name with a first name that almost looks like it's Harold, H-A-H-A, just is insanity to me in terms of coincidence. But I agree that that sure looks like Warren Coleman. But how can you make sense of that they bought tickets, they gave them the tickets on the day of the anniversary, and the daughter drove them to the airport? That just makes no sense to me. But I agree that this sure looks like it's Warren Coleman. But I don't know how to make sense of it. I don't know what to do with this insanity. But I do think it's time for us to look at the website, because I just find this so bizarre. I don't even know how to think about the multiple coincidences that are going on here. And like, they're not sitting in their proper seats. Someone else has, they're not sitting in proper class. I just don't know how to make sense of that. It feels too wrong. All right, let's find our instructions here. John says, what was the message by Warren? Okay, well, here's Warren's message. It's to Captain Harold and the lovely Venus. He congratulates them. He says, neighbor Tom is protesting, but his permit came across my desk, because this is the guy who handles the permits, and he says he's going to decline it as punishment. And then he says, congratulations to my favorite vet friend. I'd work for you any day of the week. And then they've been planning this for the past 3 months. That's interesting. But the trip was my idea. So they've just sprung this trip on him last minute. But he's clearly planning on going on the trip. She drove them to the airport. The employees bought the tickets. I took them to the airport after dinner. For some reason, I found Mom's ticket, but I couldn't find Dad's. It's not clear to us. Does that mean she didn't use the ticket? She did use the ticket. She did go to Barbados. Why is her seat wrong? Why didn't they give her a different... The name similar to Harold looks like Harvey. Well, that is interesting. But it's now Harvey Halberstadt is sitting in next to the woman who should be with Harold Halberstadt. That's insane. DJ Moneycut says, we don't need to understand everything yet. Let's just try to answer the question. That's what I think. I think we are way ahead of where this game wants us to be, is my guess. All right. So on that basis, let's take a look. The very least we can do is take a look at what this question, what the game wants us to answer. So it says, and it says we should poke a hole through her claims. Let's see, once you have solved these 2 objectives, contact me. Okay, so let's go here. Very bizarre. Very weird thing to do, especially on the first session. Okay, so it is true that in 1980 they were much less sensitive about checking IDs and stuff. Enter your last name, use the password. Okay, well, come on, guys. Did we already sign in with this? No, just here, which is a different password today, I guess. Okay, does it care about knowing that we're purchasers? Let's see what happens. Really? Does this mean it expects me to have... All right, well, you all know my last name, so it's not like I gotta hide that from you. Okay, so maybe it knows that I purchased this. That's the duel. We did that. Okay, and here is Adventure Park. Episode 1. You want me to log in again for episode 1? What does this mean? Where do you want me to click? You can gain access to, so it needs a new password. All right, guys, come on. Identify the missing person. Okay, gender, age, height, feet in inches. Okay, we did this. Determine if Harold was on the airplane. Okay, so that's what we're supposed to figure out. We're supposed to figure out if Harold was on the airplane. And then we've got a bunch of hints. And I guess it wants us to answer this. So the question is whether we should look at these hints or just try to answer it. I guess we should look at these hints. Determine if Harold was on the plane. There are 5 letters in Venus. It definitely looks like it's trying us to tell us to decode those names. V is a rare letter. This is something that the channel came up with. V is the first letter in Venus and the 4th letter in Halberstadt. That's what we used to find a matching thing. Once you have found Venus, use the elements of the code that you know to decode the name of the passenger sitting next to her. This seems like exactly what then Tina did to get Warren Coleman. Boy, okay. Well, so it looks like it did want us to figure out who was sitting next to her. We weren't ahead of it. What can I do for you? I have answers. Remains were male. Interesting. After examining the bone fusion rates and estimating their stature, do you have a match to any of the missing persons? Okay, we did. It's Manuel Luan. Yes, I think you're onto something. A male around 5'3", approximately 18 years of age. Manuel fits the bill. Now that you've solved the first objective, tell me, was Harold on the flight to Barbados with Venus? So we think not, because the person sitting next to her was Warren. Which seat number was Venus assigned to? Okay, well, we have Venus in 4A, and Warren was in 4B. Okay, so Venus is in 4A, or A. Venus Halverstadt looks like she ditched the smoking section, upgraded to first class, but it doesn't appear she was sipping champagne with her husband Harold, was she? Were you able to break the encryption and figure out who she was sitting next to? Okay, so Warren Coleman. The husband must have arranged this, must have said, I can't go, you go instead. I must have just typed it in wrong, don't you think? What did we do wrong? Did I type it in wrong? What's happened here? Is it not happy with the uppercase? That's his name. Warren Coleman. Just didn't want uppercase. Warren Coleman. Appears Venus may have been having a thing with Harold's friend. She must have had the ticket transferred into Warren's name at the ticket counter. Those were the days. This brings up so many more questions. I'll contact Candace with the status of our investigation and get back to you when I have more information on the case. Thanks for your help. Your work has been invaluable. I'm starting to think we may just solve this case after all. Well, I'm of mixed feelings about this. John said, never mind, I guess the wife just decided to go with Warren. No, that can't be the case. It's got to be a deeper plan involved because she drove the parents both to the airport. So it must have been that the husband decided that he needed to stay in town and lie about the trip. So I think that's okay. I don't know why this conclusion is wrong. But Antina is already telling me to relax. Jesse, relax, says Antina. Don't get too mad at the game. Well, here's what I have to say about it. The channel did figure out that we could get the name of the person sitting next to her. To me, though, the real flaw here was not the we were able to decrypt the code, decipher the code, which works. It does make sense. We did get Venus. I just do not understand the designer's thinking in putting a Harvey Halberstadt 5 feet away from where Harvey Halberstadt should sit. That's just a totally different person with almost identical names. That's just, I don't understand the point of it. So I find that very confusing. If not for that, I think when you do that on top of the fact that they're not in their seats, on top of the fact that we have a boarding pass that we don't know how to make sense of, like, why does it mean she has it? Does that mean she didn't use it or she did use it? Very, very strange choice in terms of game design, and to my mind, to my way of thinking. Unnecessarily backwards and confusing. So I'm not happy with that. But on the other hand, the channel did figure it out. Obviously, the husband decided he can't go and he shouldn't go and sent Warren in his place. And then they changed their seats. And there was someone with her almost identical last name and husband's first name sitting 5 feet away. That's the part that just is insanity to me. Okay. Well, and Tina says, the person sitting next to her was an afterthought. The main question was if the father was on the trip. It sound have that we should try to put a hole in his alibi. John says, I think the other couple was meant as a trap. I agree. It was meant as a trap by the designers to trick us. I just don't think it doesn't make sense. That's not a fair trap. Anna says, I guess the father killed someone accidentally, asked the wife and friend to fly together to give him an alibi while he hid the body. That's not a bad idea. It does make sense in terms of we have to figure out why they would be in on it and purposely not tell them that they didn't go on the flight. It does make sense that the father did something bad and has created an alibi for himself. On the other hand, he couldn't have planned it too far in advance, right? He just got the ticket today. So, and they went right from the anniversary party. I do wonder if what's happened here, though, is that he's killed him at the anniversary party. So this was a last minute thing. All right. And Tina doesn't agree with me and Anna that he's purposely done it. Well, we're going to find out. So we're going to stop here. We've played 3.5 hours. It's the one good part is that it seemed like this first episode was super simple. And it was only because the chat persisted in working on this manifest and code that we were able to solve it correctly, even though it took us several hours. Okay, we're going to end here. 21 concurrent viewers, 1:27 a.m. You still got plenty of time to have another activity in your night, but we are going to end here. We'll play the second session tomorrow night at 10. It's possible if we end the second session early, after 2 hours or so, that we'll play the third session right after it. Otherwise, we'll have to find a day to play session 3, maybe Sunday afternoon or evening. I do appreciate this team here, and I appreciate the group effort sticking with it, but Marco and Tina in particular, knowing to check the seat next to her. I still find it a little too convoluted, but obviously the group did come to the right answer. That's where you benefit from having multiple minds at work. We'll see how the plot unravels tomorrow. I think the father is up to something fishy and arranged this, and Tina thinks not. But we'll find out tomorrow evening at 10 p.m. I'll see you then.